All right, guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools DIY channel. Let's talk about what not to do with these things. Yeah, drills. See you right after this. All right, guys, so let's talk about drills for a second. There are certain mistakes that you don't want to make when you're using your drill because it may cost you the drill. The first mistake you don't want to make is cranking your torque or your clutch setting all the way to the max. Now, this is the clutch on the drill right here with all the numbers on it. The highest setting on this is 18. I don't need to crank it all the way up to 18 for every drilling task. If I keep doing that, that's eventually going to strip the screw heads. It may even snap the screw, and it will always put a strain on the motor and the gears in the drill. So you want to make sure that you match your clutch setting or your torque setting to your material. You want to use a lower torque setting for soft material like drywall or soft wood. And you want to crank it up for those denser or harder materials like hardwood. Also, you don't want to leave your setting on drill mode when you're driving screws. You saw what happened there. That's because it's on drill mode. You want to crank it to a certain setting when you're drilling screws. If you keep the drill on the drill setting when driving screws, you're basically bypassing the clutch entirely. So the drill is just going to apply the maximum rotational force without stopping. And that could easily strip the screw head or even snap the screw or make it sink too deep into the material. When you use the clutch, it'll stop the screw once it reaches a certain resistance. And if you're drilling through drywall, this is very important because you don't want to punch through the drywall, and that'll happen if you're using the drill setting. So use the clutch settings when you're drilling screws because that's going to protect your surface and it's going to keep your screwdriver bits from slipping and stripping your screw heads. So you want to start low. You want to turn the clutch collar to say about 4 or 5 for smaller screws or softer material, and then just adjust it up gradually. And just use the drill setting if you're boring holes into metal or masonry or even very hard wood. All right, guys, so next on the list that's a no-no is draining your battery all the way down to 0 before you put it on the charger. That's going to degrade the battery over time, and the damage being done is not as obvious as, say, keeping the clutch on the wrong setting. This is internal, so you won't see it unless it's too late. Now, this rule is just for lithium-ion batteries, which most modern drills use. Lithium-ion batteries don't like to be run down all the way to 0, unlike the older NiCad batteries, that's nickel-cadmium batteries, that they used to use. And some of you with older drills probably still use NiCad batteries. NiCad batteries used to be the standard for cordless tools before lithium-ion batteries took over. They had their problems, that's why they got replaced, but one of them was not being run all the way down. In fact, running them all the way down to 0 was actually recommended to prevent another problem that they had, which was something called a memory effect. In other words, if you repeatedly recharged them before they were fully drained, they would start remembering that shorter cycle and lose the capacity to last longer, which is the opposite of lithium ion. They don't like to be run down all the way to 0. They don't like to be fully drained. So if you got some NiCad batteries on your older drill, this doesn't apply. But if you got these modern drills, don't drain them all the way. All right, guys, so the next thing on the list is using the wrong bit for the material. You don't want to run, say, a wood bit into masonry. All that's going to do is overwork the motor and gears. Most drill bit kits have a variety of drill bit types. You have twist bits like this one, then you have brad point bits, you have masonry bits, you have spade bits. Every drill bit type is cut a certain way for the material that they're made for. Most important thing is to make sure that the drill bit is not dull. By the way, check out my video on how to sharpen your drill bits. It's in the catalog. Not only can the wrong drill bit type damage the motor and gearbox, it can also damage the jaws of the chuck, and the battery is going to drain a lot faster because the motor is drawing more current to deal with all the friction that's happening, all because of a dull drill bit or a mismatched drill bit. Some of the ways you can tell your drill bit's mismatched or dull is the metal starts turning blue. You can actually see it. Then you got that smoke and the burning smell. Then the drill starts to get bogged down or starts stalling on you. So make sure you have the right drill bit before you start drilling. All right, next mistake you don't want to make, using an impact rated drill bit in a regular drill, or vice versa, using a regular drill bit in an impact driver. An impact driver will shatter a regular bit. Just like using a regular drill for heavy work, that's meant for an impact driver, that's going to put extra strain on the drill. It's going to burn the motor and gears up and possibly mess up the chuck and the jaws of the chuck. So make sure that you use the right drill bit for your impact driver and your regular drill. All right, here's another one. Over tightening the chuck. Cranking the chuck as hard as you can to make sure that it's secure on the bit. It's actually not good for the chuck jaws. It's also not good for having a centered, true drill bit, which is just a fancy way of saying a drill bit with no wobble. Over tightening your chuck on the drill bit can throw off how centered your drill bit's gonna be over time. Let's see how centered this drill is. That looks pretty centered. You don't see a wobble or anything. It's staying pretty straight on its axis instead of wobbling like that. Holes that come out slightly bigger than they should be in your material is a sign that your drill bit is not aligned. It's not centered. Or if your drill bit tends to walk a lot when you're getting ready to drill something, that's also a sign that it's not centered or aligned. Now, on the same note, under tightening your chuck is also not a good thing, because then your drill bit is going to be slipping in and out of the chuck, and that's going to mess up the jaws of the chuck, and it's also going to strip away the material on the shank, which is going to lead to the bit snapping on you at some point. Now, there's no single torque specification on how much you should tighten your chuck, but the general rule is you want to hand tighten it and give it a final twist, maybe about a quarter to half a turn tighter, using your hand strength, as long as you can't pull it out or twist it out by hand. Basically, you don't have to give it all you got when you're tightening your chuck. Modern drills like this one are what's called keyless chucks. They have a ratcheting clicking mechanism. So you want to tighten it until you hear about 2 to 3 clicks. That ratcheting sound is the chuck telling you it's reached its proper clamping tension. So you want to stop there, because if you force anything past that, it doesn't really add to the grip on the bit. It really just stresses out the chuck. Now, for drills with chuck keys or keyed chucks, same thing. You just want to use your hand strength to tighten it, but don't overdo it. All right, I know sometimes you don't want to do this, but not drilling pilot holes when needed, like say for instance in hard wood or on the edge of your wood, is not recommended. You should drill a pilot hole in these instances. If you don't, it's going to cause the wood to split and everything mentioned earlier. Makes the drill work harder. If you're driving a screw, whatever fastener you're driving in there, it can snap it or it'll walk on you. Now, when drilling pilot holes, you want to make sure that you drill it with a bit that's slightly smaller than the root diameter, not the threads, but the root diameter of your screw or fastener, because you want the threads of your screw to have something to bite into. And if a portion of the shank of your screw or fastener is smooth, that part shouldn't have to fight its way through either. Now, if it's something like hardwood, you want the bit that you're drilling your pilot hole with to be slightly bigger than a bit you would use for drilling pilot holes for softwood, because hardwood is more prone to splitting on you. So a pilot hole that's closer to the screw's actual diameter is better in that case. Once again, you always want to drill your pilot holes near the edges or the ends of boards, because these areas are most prone to splitting. Doesn't matter the wood type. Same with masonry. You want to use a carbide tipped masonry bit, especially if you're installing anchors in the masonry. Usually the anchor specs will tell you what size bit to use for your pilot holes. And those have to be precise for the anchors to grip properly. Same with metal. You're going to probably use cobalt or titanium bits, and you want to match those to your fasteners, whatever that is, screw or anchor root diameter. Also, you want to run it at a slower speed as well, and use some cutting oil or lubricant to reduce the heat, and that extends the lifespan of the bit as well. All right, if you didn't know, drills have a variable speed trigger. That's right, you can adjust the speed of the rotation just by pulling the trigger slowly instead of instantly mashing it all the way down. Mashing the trigger all the way down instantly can cause the drill to walk on you, and it's also a good way to strip your screw heads. Plus, it puts a lot of stress on the gearbox, so if you want your drill to last longer, ease up on that trigger. Now, if you really want to mess up your drill, you may actually enjoy snapping your bits, overheating the motor, or you might even get a kick out of wearing out the drill chuck. Well, here's how you do it. You put all your body weight on the drill while you're drilling. All right, just kidding. Don't do that if you want your drill to last. Putting too much pressure on the drill while you're drilling is going to do all those things I just mentioned. Just let the tool do the work. Because if the drill binds in the material, it can actually cause the drill to kick back, and that can snap your wrist. So just relax and give the drill enough pressure to stay in the hole and let it do its work. All right, guys, just a few more things. If you're going to be drilling into concrete or masonry, make sure you switch it to the hammer drill mode. If you don't and you're drilling through materials like this, you're just going to overwork the motor and you're going to mess the clutch up. So that's what that hammer drill function is for, drilling through materials like this. Also, don't overwork your drill. If you're using the drill repeatedly and you don't let it rest, you don't let the motor cool down, you're pretty much shortening the lifespan of your drill, especially if you're drilling through hard materials. Try to keep it away from moisture or any wet or damp environments. The drill will start to corrode as a result of that exposure. It can even get shorted out. Don't just store your drill anywhere. Put it in its case or a dedicated space. Drills can accumulate dust from wood or concrete. It can get into the motor windings. It can even jam up the chuck. Just blow it out with your shop compressor. They even have compressed air in cans that you can use to blow out your tools. You can vacuum it out as well. It's just a couple of screws and you can open it up to have more access to it. So always make sure you do some regular maintenance on it. And let's give some respect to one of the workhorses of the tool world.